Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Hanging Out for a Living. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Nermine Zakhary, the founder and chief empowerment officer of Strengths Edge Coaching. Nermine's dedication to highlighting and nurturing the unique strengths in each of us is truly inspiring. Her work empowers individuals to tap into their unique capabilities, enhance relationships and solve problems together with overcoming weaknesses, ultimately steering them towards personal fulfillment and meaningful contribution. Nermine, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Teresa.
I know our viewers are anxious to get this conversation started, so let's dive right in. So, Nermine, could you share with us what sparked your passion for coaching and personal empowerment and led to the creation of Strengths Edge Coaching?
Well, I think I've always been very keen on learning just personal development content, self-help, uh, books, and you can call me a webinar junkie. I love anything, anywhere, anytime I can learn something new, I'm there. So, and I had joined the Xerox Leadership Association at Xerox, and one day they were offering a program called Discover Your Strengths, and that really intrigued me. I had never really thought much about my strengths. Honestly, if you'd asked me, I wouldn't be able to tell you what they were. So I was certainly intrigued, and I signed up to go. Well, part of the program, the workshop, was to purchase the Strengths Finder book and to do the assessment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did the assessment and I got my results. And Teresa, I did not like them.
Ooh.
I didn't like them. I saw the relationship, the relationship words. Most of my strengths are in the relationship building
Mm-hmm.
theme. I saw them at the time, I saw them as fluffy words that
Okay.
had nothing to do with anything I'd accomplished over the course of my career. And actually I saw them more as my weaknesses. Nothing, not like my strengths at all. Adaptability, you know, making a decision is like, you know, doesn't serve me, doesn't serve any, I can't make a decision for my life. I couldn't at the time. And I didn't, how is adaptability serving me? How is that a strength? Or empathy, when I ruminate for days about conversations I've had, and did I say enough, or I'm sure that I offended someone, or all just
Sure.
stays with me. How are these strengths if they feel they're more painful than they are comfortable, and feel like I'm doing something fulfilling. Anyways, by the end of so I walked in with a little bit of an attitude. I think, oh, this is just another silly personality test, is what I walked in with, and I walked out saying, everybody needs to know their strengths. I really did experience a complete paradigm shift during the course of that 90-minute workshop, when I started to see how using my strengths, actually, when I used them, effectively, I was happy. I was making some kind of an impact. And just one last point is that I think probably the biggest awakening for me was the realization that I had spent the bulk of my adult life really trying to live up to other people's expectations, never meeting them, or comparing myself to others, and never feeling good enough. And for the first time, I'm looking at these strengths and realizing, okay, it's okay to just be me.
It is. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, in your experience, what is the most common obstacle people face in recognizing and then utilizing their strengths, and how do you guide them to overcome it?
Yeah. I think the hardest thing, the reason it's hard for us to see them is that they're so innate to us,
Yeah.
these gifts that we have. It's just how we show up. It's what we do. We don't think that it's anything special. But when we take a moment and step back and think about it, yeah, not everybody can do the things that I do the way that I do them. And oh yeah, this is kind of special. And it requires uh, it requires reflection. It requires an outside source. So a
Mhm.
coaching conversation is extremely helpful in pulling that out. And something to be aware of too is that because they are so innate, what comes so naturally to us, we often it's so easy to think, well, I can do it, and expect the person sitting next to me can also do the same thing,
Right.
and that can definitely generate some frustration in relationships and working together. So just an awareness, but that's why
Absolutely.
I think it's so hard to see.
It is. Absolutely. We don't see what's right in front of us because it's so innate. Absolutely. We need someone like you who can help pull that through us, out in us. So I'm sure many watching would like to know, how can we start identifying our strengths and leveraging them in our daily lives? Could you share a few practical steps with us?
Absolutely. So the first, I would encourage folks to complete the Clifton Strengths Assessment. It's now called Clifton Strengths.
Yep.
Many of you've heard of it as the Strengths Finder. So I would encourage folks to do that. But even without the assessment, here are some things that you can do. So pay attention. Start really noticing, what are the activities that you are naturally drawn to? Where does learning come easy for you? Pay attention to that. Think about times when you've completed an activity and you feel so content, so satisfied about just completing it. Or when you experience that timelessness, you're so engrossed in what you're doing that you lose all track of time. Or you kind of look back at something you've just completed and say, wow, I just did that. So those
Mhm.
glimpses of excellence, those are some things that you can start really paying attention to highlight the gifts that you have, your strengths.
Absolutely. Those are really great starting points. And then having someone like you to help us dive deeper into that is really important. So, as we wrap up this with last question,
Yeah.
um, you talk about mitigating areas of weakness by focusing on strengths. Can you elaborate more on this intriguing concept?
Yeah. I love this question. So oftentimes when we're struggling, when we're dealing with a problem, trying to find a solution,
Mhm.
it's so easy to focus on what I don't have, what I don't know how to do, what doesn't come easy for me. And and then we spiral downwards.
Yeah.
And it's a lot harder to come up and figure out how you know, to work around the situation. When we say mitigate, it's not about ignoring the weakness. It's about figuring out how to leverage my strengths in order to address the situation that I'm facing. So we go through this really cool exercise to uh, uh, dig a little deeper into each of our top strengths and explore, well, how, what is this particular strength thinking, feeling, doing in this situation, and how loud is it?
Yeah.
Is it showing up at all, or is it taking over? Is and what we find is that when our strengths are out of balance, when one is just kind of taking control and ignoring the gifts of the others, that we're out of balance. And it's when
Right.
all of our strengths are serving and working together that we're operating at our best. So that's often a great um, a good place to look. Like,
Mhm.
where am I overdoing something?
Uh,
And right, anything in excess, anything when we're overdoing it, oftentimes does the reverse. It doesn't really serve us in the most effective way. So then that offers us the opportunity to think, well, how can I quiet this one down a little bit and allow for another strength to step in and serve in the greatest greatest way possible. And it's when we're in balance, all of them are serving and working, then we can we'll be at our best.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this insightful segment with Nermine Zakhary. I'm sure many of you, like me, are fascinated by her work and eager to explore the concept of strength-based living further. If you wish to dive deeper into this conversation and want to learn more about your strengths, I encourage you to get in touch with Nermine. Her contact information will be provided in the description below. Remember, the first step towards empowerment is recognizing and embracing our strengths. Thank you, Nermine, for shedding light on this transformative approach. And to all our viewers, until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep hanging out for a living. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.